Okay, man, are you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Now, come on, now crank this motherfucker up.
Break it down like this.
Hello, Internet. Gino, that Bambino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And today we're getting fused. We are all combining into one gigantic mass of host and guest to discuss Metroid Fusion. And joining me in this undulating mass, Pete Busby. Hello.
Hey, what's going on? I'd love to get fused with everybody. Just a heads up, spoiler alert, Samus is a girl. I just found out. If anybody didn't know that, I wouldn't have played the game if I had known ahead of time, so I guess I'm glad I found out now. Fun fact for this week's podcast about dolphins, who I generally hate because they're the assholes of the sea. But dolphins, apparently, to protect their noses when they hunt on the marine floor, will use sponges as like a glove. So they put the sponge on the nose, they root around on the ocean floor, and then like a little tiny fish pops up. The reason they do this to get these bottom dwelling fish, because they're much more nutritious, apparently, which is also weirdly why pretty much only female dolphins, or predominantly female dolphins, use this sponge hunting technique, because they face certain unique pressures raising calves. So, yeah, female dolphins pretty badass, using sponges to hunt for fish, but don't like dolphins because they're all jerks.
That's fair. I mean, good to know that the sponge is the condom of the sea, but in front of the nose. It's a nose condom. Or a glove.
The nose is the penis of the face. So.
The nose is the penis of the face. Nailed it. Also joining us in our fusion dance, M. Palladino. Hello, M.
Hello. I think the undulating mass would have been a better opener for Carrion, but I do appreciate it. A similar Metroidvania, but
except in that one you play as the parasites.
The monster, yes. This one you kind of also play as the parasites, but we'll get into it.
Yep.
To the dolphin question, do sponges have feelings? SpongeBob leads me to believe that they do. They have very intimate
internal lives.
But I don't know about real ones.
Every sponge has a pet snail, and every dolphin that snatches one up orphans a snail.
I feel like sponges are like the least alive thing. Like, sponges are the last cutoff you get to be and still be like, yeah, I guess that thing's alive.
Yeah, sponges, I think they feel pain, so I don't know if that's good enough.
To be a sponge and only feel pain.
No thoughts, and all they feel is pain.
What a horrific existence. Anyway, Metroid Fusion. We played it.
Sure did. But before we talk about Metroid Fusion, we have our normal housekeeping. You can get in touch with the show at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. That's where you can send us emails. You can also support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. And if you were to do so, you would get access to our Discord. You can talk to the host of the show. You can suggest games for us to play. You can learn about what games we're playing ahead of time and how we feel about such things. And if you were to do so and get access to the Discord, you could show up on the Discord report.
The Discord report. Boop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop-a-doop. This week on the Discord, we have a special episode that came out last week. It was a off week because Gino was traveling. I got to host it, and we did a wheel of podcast topics with ZP, Arbitrary Water, and Jeff Rude. And it was a good time.
It was. Some of the topics in there were suggested on the Discord.
Yep. Yeah, so that was fun. We had to set that whole thing up in a very short amount of time, so if you want to see us flounder like that again, join the Discord.
No one needs to know that there was floundering.
It's fine. It's fine. They can know that we are flying by the seat of our pants at all times. Other things on the Discord, our Dad of Light episode fast approaches. I think everyone has finished it, or at least watched most of it now.
I have finished it. I have opinions, though. The 8th episode, I need to watch the 8th episode because it seemed as though it was either a recap of the previous 7 episodes or an extended ad for Final Fantasy XIV, and I couldn't tell which.
I mean, the whole show is an extended ad for Final Fantasy XIV. I think there was a recap episode somewhere in there, so it's probably just, you're fine. You get the gist of it. We've also had a bunch of Final Fantasy trading card game spoilers in the Discord. There are some neat-looking cards coming up. Such as some Final Fantasy, not 14, 7 remake cards coming out. You got a Quina.
Don't we have enough Final Fantasy VII content by now?
Oh no.
Do we need more?
There's only going to be more.
As someone who's not like the biggest 7 nut, the fact that FF7 might have more cards in the FFTCG than any other card, like any other game, it's very frustrating. Like, every card that's a 7 card could have been another card. And it's just eating up so much space. But speaking of the card game stuff, we did have a poll in the Listen to the Magic Discord, kind of asking, like, do people still want that? Because I will always learn up and get ready for a set review of some kind if one is, if people desire so. But I am getting less and less into Magic the Gathering because I feel it has decreased in quality recently. I think last podcast I was on, we talked a little bit about how a large sum of money was cut out of the prize pool with no announcement in advance from some of the latest tournaments. So people entered the tournament thinking the prize pool was X dollars and found out that it was 1/4 X. So like Wizards of the Coast has kind of turned me off recently. I've played less in general. And so please do write in deeplistenpodcast@gmail.com or, use comment sections if you want to hear those, or if you don't care and say, actually the Listen to the Magic podcast, it's fine to let that one go. Just let us know because, a new set has actually just released on Arena. It's D&D themed, which also turned me off. But we've had that debate in the Discord as to whether it's worth continuing on that series. So, give us feedback, affirmative or negative, anything. So without further ado, I guess I don't really have a rant this week of a thing. Data Light, we played it. I finished Yu Yu Hakusho. That's one thing I guess I could shout out. My obsession was finally I finished Yu Yu Hakusho.
I'm always on board for an anime fighting tournament.
Yeah, that show is nothing but tournaments. It's almost exclusively tournaments.
Yeah, it's the best. Netflix has cornered the market on anime fighting tournament shows too.
That one's on Hulu, honestly.
But Netflix has Ragnarok, the new one, Kengan Ashura.
Is that a tournament anime, Ragnarok?
Yeah, it's just gods fighting humans.
Oh, I didn't know that.
There's a third one too. I can't think of the name of now. Shit. But they got them all.
Yeah, Yu Yu Hakusho, I will say seasons 1, 2, and the beginning of season 3 of Yu Yu Hakusho, all grade A stuff. Season 4 and the conclusion of the show, you can very clearly see when the creator of the show was done with it and wanted it to end. They basically fast forward the last season, just like characters starting journeys, and then the next episode the journey's over and they've achieved whatever they needed for the next fight, or like, you know, conversation characters basically being given some small backstory and then dying. Like they introduced characters who went on to become significant, but you never see any of the parts where they're doing significant things. Beginning of that show is great. Ending of that show, I get it, but it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. He had a tough development cycle for that. We talked about this in the Discord as well. He also made Hunter x Hunter, and it's on hiatus because the health toll that it took to make Yu Yu Hakusho was not great.
Do you... Another show I like that's also just filled with tournaments, but you don't pronounce the X?
Hunter x Hunter?
Yeah, I've always said
Hunter
x Hunter, but is it just Hunter x Hunter?
It's just Hunter x Hunter.
Okay. I must have been sounding very foolish all these years when I was talking about it at work.
Yeah, when I was in Japan, Hunter x Hunter was very popular, and my host little brother was way into it. I did not know the Yu Yu Hakusho lineage at the time, but now I am more inclined to give it a shot.
It's pretty good. It takes a little bit to get rolling, but once you're in there, it's
solid.
Yeah.
Gotta get into yet another show that will maybe never end.
Well, it's on 2 years hiatus, so it's not looking good.
Could I interest you in a little One Piece if you want a show that'll never end?
Oh, Jesus.
That was what I was going to say, is like Hunter x Hunter might never end because the creator of the show doesn't, is not in a good state to finish it. One Piece might never end because capitalism demands endless inputs.
I think the creator has said that he's at the halfway point, which
Gross.
is
at 1,000 episodes.
Absolutely terrifying.
Jesus.
See, this is what happens when you set the show in a fictional ocean and every arc is just like, we found an island. We'll get one new crew member. There'll be a dude with like weird arms or something on this island, and it'll take the frickin' 60 episodes to get through this.
Yeah, we'll get separated. It'll take 10 episodes just to find each other again, at which point we'll be immediately separated yet again.
Yep. But hey, at the end of it, we're going to find a sentient shark man, and he's going to join our crew. Oh,
I see.
All right, well,
familiar with One Piece.
Is there a sentient shark man who joins the crew?
There are many.
Yes, there are several.
I know that there's a bone man. There's a cyborg with a funny nose.
Yep.
There's a tiny reindeer who becomes a big reindeer.
Yep.
Correct.
And there are multiple very busty women.
Multiple dusty women. One of them whose hands, she can make hands show up places weirdly.
Feet too, I think.
Oh, that's gross.
Mm-hmm.
The hands were fine. The feet are gross.
You made it
And
weird.
then a kid with a slingshot who tells stories. All right. Well, without further ado, let's discuss Metroid Fusion. You picked Metroid Fusion, so why don't you set the table for us?
Metroid Fusion is the 2002 Nintendo reimagining of the Metroid series, directly following the original Super Metroid. Metroid Fusion, Samus, our protagonist, she is investigating a space station which is infected with X-parasites. During the course of events, she gets infected with these X-parasites and has to get a new suit, which is the Metroidvania resetting all of your skills from the last game.
Yep.
And then you have to go around the space station collecting all your powers and then blow up the space station because it's gonna get used by evil corporations. Would you say that's an accurate summary?
Yes, I think definitely evil corporations. The enemy, instead of in this Metroid, the enemy is not a Metroid. It's X-parasites, which are, how would you describe them, Pete?
It's basically the Thing, or not the Thing. Yeah, the Thing.
Yeah, the Thing. The
basically
Thing works.
You know, the thing.
The Thing. From John Carpenter's titular, The Thing.
Yes. They are parasites that once they get in you, they take over your brain and your memories, and they can assume your physical form. And they can reproduce.
The
Sucks.
weird part is it's not just like they take over your body; they also get your memories, which seems like, I don't know, insult to injury, kind of. I don't think they should get the memories too.
Yeah, they shouldn't get the memories. They should be renting, not owning. But yeah, it starts off with Samus going back to the planet with the Metroids, where, the Metroids from Metroid and Super Metroid come from. And on that planet, she encounters this X-Parasite, which apparently was a parasite that was kept down by the Metroids. They were eaten by Metroids.
They were the natural prey of the Metroids. Now that there are no Metroids, they are running amok.
Yes.
Oh,
go ahead.
Sorry, is there an indication in the game why Metroids are sort of immune to the X-Parasites? I don't remember seeing it.
Just that they're the predator.
There's no, their brains are wired differently or some nonsense.
Not even, because at the very beginning of the game, Samus gets infected with the X-Parasites. It's real gross when you get the shot of her infected with the parasites, because it's just like goop leaking out everywhere on her suit. And then they basically shoot her up with a serum made from the baby Metroid from Super Metroid, and that saves her. Like, the Metroid cells eat all the X cells.
But she becomes fused to her suit, right? Like, that's the side effect.
She doesn't become fused to her. They cut out the old suit. So, like, the suit that she has in Fusion is like the old suit, but cut up. It's missing panels and stuff.
Yeah. It's like she could only have the helmet, basically, and then it's the under suit for the rest of it.
She has an arm cannon still, the helmet, and then otherwise it's like her jumpsuit underneath.
Yeah.
Got it.
I think in the opening sequence it says something equivalent to the X is in your brainstem, and if we take it off, you're gonna die. So you gotta stay in your suit for a bit. And then they mail the remains of the suit to the space station.
Yes, along with Samus.
Which will be a relevant plot point momentarily.
Yes. So you go back to the space station that is hovering around the planet where Samus got all messed up. And the reason why you're there is because there's some more research going on, and they want to help, safeguard this research. And they're also sending back the X-Parasite-laden suit with Samus. So as soon as you get there, things go bad immediately. The cargo hold blows up. The X from your suit escapes and starts infecting the crew of the space station. And there are 6 different environments or biomes that are contained within this research facility as well. And each of those biomes, little by little, becomes more and more infected with X. And that's kind of how levels are, spread out across the game. You've got the central research facility and then 6 different biomes that are kind of individual spokes on a wheel that you go down. So what did we think of kind of the initial Metroidvania setup here? We're getting there, they've taken all your powers away, and then, you kind of go off exploring. What do we think of kind of the power distribution and gaining back your abilities?
I do think, this is jumping ahead a bit, but this is something I noticed pretty substantially, is Samus, probably rightfully so, gets sort of stupid overpowered at a certain point. You just get so many abilities where it's you can dash through enemies, you can jump into them and it'll just kill them. You get missiles, you get lasers, you get neutrino bombs. There are almost too many powers by the time you get to the end.
Yeah, and some of the powers, I would say towards the very end, you upgrade your beam 3 different times. The first one's a wide beam that just lets you hit more enemies. Then you get a beam that goes through objects and can hit things on the other side. And then you get one final upgrade at the very end. But each of those beam upgrades feels, I don't know, other than the one that goes through walls, they don't feel that significant. There's a missile defusal upgrade. That one also feels a little bit perfunctory. It lets you shoot a missile and then have the explosion go super wide and hit multiple enemies when compared to some of the early upgrades, your morph ball, your bomb.
Yeah, I feel like the problem with the later upgrades is that you're never really backtracking to a point where it feels relevant. All of the enemies seem to sort of scale with you. So by the time you get the freeze ray, the enemies that you're going to be fighting aren't like super like susceptible to that.
Being frozen.
Yeah. So it kind of like defeats the purpose of, scaling in this way where everything else is going to scale with you. So you feel super overpowered when you look at it like, oh, look at all these powers that I have. But then, it's just like, and now I have to fire 150 missiles at Ridley.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't seem like it scales properly.
Yeah, you can backtrack, and the game allows you to backtrack, but it never really forces you to backtrack except once or twice.
Yeah.
So, like, it felt to me as though a lot of the powers were there for, finding secrets if you wanted to spend more time looking for items, but it never felt like, dang, now I just dominate everything and everything.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever played like a game like this and found a convincing reason for losing all your powers? Like, I can't remember a single game like this, like Assassin's Creed, like anything where I'm like, oh yeah, like that makes sense narratively. Like, I'm impressed how you've taken my powers away here.
I feel like this is the only one where I was like, okay, it makes some sense. I feel like having all the powers just scattered around this random space station doesn't make as much sense. The actual gaining them back, and it's like a 1-to-1 what you had last time, doesn't really flow. I'm trying to think if there's any other games like second in the series that just resets you. Yeah, God of War does this so hard.
Yeah, it's like you got into a fight with the real bad god at the very beginning of this game after you've had your power. Like, God of War does the abilities where they give you the abilities that you had from the last game, and then they fuck you up and take your powers away.
Creed does that too.
Does it?
Yeah, might have been the first one. You start like full power, and then like, I don't know if you get knocked down, if it's part of like the like dumb bullshit time travel mechanic, but you just lose them all.
I never played the first couple of Assassin's Creeds, so I could not say. We should play one of those at one point. Gonna add that to my list.
Oh no, not one of the Assassin's Creeds. I haven't played an Assassin's Creed in 10 plus years at this point.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Black Flag's pretty good. I think we talked about that on the last podcast. Anyway.
Yes. Yeah, so
usually it's very contrived when they do this.
Almost always. Yeah, I think this is probably, I agree with you, Em. This is one of the best uses of that. You got real messed up. Now you can't use your powers no more. So what was your favorite power of the available powers that we get in Fusion?
I mean, Morph Ball is always a classic. I mean, it's not really like breaking new ground, but there's just something about like roll. Like, it's the best part of Sonic too. You just roll up and just sort of cruise around.
I'm always partial to the late game. What's it called? Where you're like, you do a little somersault and volts.
Oh, the screw attack?
Screw attack, yeah. Because that one's fun because you could just like bounce around and knock into enemies and you basically just one-hit them.
And you're vulnerable.
Yeah,
it's happening too.
Exactly. But that's fairly late in the game, so you don't get to like use it very much. But when you're playing as Samus in Smash, it's very fun to do that to enemies.
Yeah, definitely. For me, I think I like the ice missiles. Like, they just unlock the most stuff, I think, in this game. Specifically, you get them pretty early, and once you get them, like, you can start freezing enemies for platforming purposes. They're powerful in combat. I think it's just got the most versatility in terms of how they make use of it. That, and when you get the Varia suit and you're no longer vulnerable to temperature changes, there's a section where there's like, because you have Metroid blood or whatever, you're vulnerable to cold.
Yeah.
And there are like frozen X parasites. Because in this game, you heal by picking up random parasites and basically consuming them. And there's some icy ones that like, these ones are cold. If you touch them, they freeze you from the inside. And the first time you get a Varia suit and they try to, they're aggressive. They come at you. And the first time they do, you just eat all of them. That's super good. That's one of the more fun sequences that they have.
I also like the where you run really fast and then you slam through walls. That's also a visceral memory of when I first played this game. I would just run around all the halls slamming into stuff.
There's a nice like psychedelic color change for that one too.
Yeah,
We're just
Do
like
you
a
like
neon Samus now.
Do like a little
Turn
blinky
rainbow.
behind you.
Get after images, you turn rainbow, and if anyone touches you, they die.
Yep. That's the best kind of power, where anything touches you, they die instead of the other way around.
Just instant death.
An inversion, you see, a commentary. So, like, this game's format is pretty straightforward. Like, you are basically being led around by the nose by a computer who tells you, what your mission objectives are at every navigation room. Pete, what did you think of the computer? Your
Oh my god, that guy.
nicknamed Adam.
So Adam, like, you instantly know something's basically up with Adam. Because, like, early on, he's like, oh, these X-parasites, they're so fascinating.
They're so remarkable.
Yeah, and if you've ever, like, they do this all the time. Like, somehow duplicitousness has become a stand-in for machine intelligence. Like, I think, I'll cite examples in a second, but I think it goes back to, like, theory of mind. So, like, in order to lie to somebody, you need to have a theory of mind. You need to know that they believe different things than you do. So, like, human babies, like dogs, things that we don't think have theory of mind can't lie. But, like, do you guys remember Coco the Gorilla?
I do.
So,
Sign language gorilla.
yeah, exactly. For our listeners who don't remember, Coco the Gorilla was a gorilla that they supposedly taught to speak sign language. And one of the, like, marks of her intelligence was they would point out that Coco would lie. So, like, Coco broke a sink in her enclosure, and somebody asked her about it, and she said one of the trainers did it instead. And you're like, that Coco, she's so intelligent. So they do this all the time, right? It comes up with Adam. It comes up in the Alien franchise. The androids' real reason for doing stuff was that they were meant to capture the aliens as opposed to exterminating them, to use them for military hardware. They do it in 2001: A Space Odyssey. Like, Hal goes crazy and tries to murder the crew because he knows the real reason behind their mission. Like, anytime you have an AI sidekick or, like, boss, they're either going to turn on you or there's some deeper, darker thing going on you don't quite understand.
This game leans into it. They're not subtle. Like, the robot respects the power of the parasites. Like, yeah, I know that they're trying to kill you and they're infesting everything in this base, but think of the applications.
Yeah, but look how good they are at killing you, though,
You got to respect that. They could kill you in their sleep.
It's weird, too, because, like, lying and, like, conniving in this Machiavellian sort of way is a sign of robot intelligence. And then the other big one's a sense of humor. So, like, if robots can laugh and tell jokes, they're always, like, super smart in sci-fi contexts. It's, like, a very weird dichotomy.
Yeah, we've gotten in just this podcast, I think we got Gorky from, what was the game where you're up in a space station alone?
Yeah, I forget. It might be called Alone.
Still there?
Yes.
Still there, that's it. Yeah, we had that robot and Still There. I feel like we've had the AI in that cyberpunk taxi game.
Oh, yeah, him.
Cloudpunk? Yep.
Cloudpunk. I feel like there are at least 4 or 5 different AIs that are conniving in that game. We've had a lot of it. It's definitely a trope at this point. Though I think in this game, your conniving AI doesn't really do all that much other than direct you around by the nose. It only once or twice says something. Eventually, I think we can just, like, jump ahead. Like, there's some cool bosses. Each of the environments, you've got a regular biome, an ice level, a fire level, a night level, a underwater level. Am I forgetting one?
There's like
Regular?
a desert.
It's like a whole bunch of, like, just space station stuff.
Yeah, it's mostly just space.
Isn't there a jungle level?
Oh yeah,
There's a jungle level too.
Yeah.
That's the 6th one.
Yeah, and Ridley shows up.
Yeah, I just want to say, as far as a workplace goes, a lot of OSHA violations. It's very unsafe.
Space OSHA.
Like,
the worst kind.
It's great for a platformer, but when you think about it, do you remember in Carrion where you were, like, playing as the person and you needed to, like, walk around and find a ladder, but as the monster you could just kind of, like, slime your way through?
Yep.
It's a lot of those interior spaces. Lots of falls from great heights.
And, like, once Samus has to use her infinite jumps ability to, like, get around.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what would a person have been doing?
Yeah, there's a lot of... Samus is a super soldier, and she's having a hard time getting around these platforms a lot of the time. Regular researcher number 7, I don't think was getting up and down those corridors. Yeah, so
a lot of electrified standing water too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the X did that. That's the parasites.
That's
The
fair. I should
parasites
put that on
produce
the
the electricity.
But there is one area that's on fire.
Look, the lava is important for the research.
Uh-huh. Okay.
If Samus just had her Variasuit, which is a very common technology, she'd be fine. But because of the ridiculous parasite situation, she lost her Variasuit. All the scientists have Variasuits. It's fine.
Of course.
It's fine. They all have gravity suits. They all have Variasuits. They actually have a really easy time navigating this. It's just because Samus lost her powers. So we find out pretty early. I mean, there's hints at it pretty early on, but there's even more hints later on that the government, the Galactic Federation, who has enlisted Samus, is not all that they seem to be. They might be more interested in the X than in eradicating the X, like
first
alien
hint,
style.
First hint, their name's the Galactic Federation.
Yes.
Like, that's not a good guy name.
It's never good if you have a federation, and if it's galactic, it's even worse.
Yeah, the larger the scale of your federation, the worse it's going to be.
That's just true. That's true in real life and in video games. And we find out pretty early on, like, there's a Samus X parasite, or Sax for short. Sax Fifth Avenue is wandering the halls and trying to murder you. And it's basically an X parasite that has all of your powers, looks like you at full power from Super Metroid. And she will really fuck you up when you encounter.
Yeah. She's got the ice thing, like, right off the bat. So if you get hit by those, she will just freeze you and then walk right up and kill you. It makes for some very nice chase sequences, if you can figure out how to get away from her. Or you just hide until she goes away. When I originally played this as a, like, probably 12-year-old, this was very scary.
Yes, agreed.
Very intimidating to have yourself be the enemy. So I guess there's a commentary there.
Some sort of metaphor that, Samus is really trying to unpack for us.
Yeah, definitely. The Sax, every time you see it, the computer tells you, like, if you see this thing, just hide. Hide for as long as you can. You can't fight it. It'll kill you. There were a couple of times where I accidentally walked in front of it, and yep, I died every time.
I was watching a speedrun of this game. People have figured out how to play this game in 50-ish minutes. And if you know what to do, you can just kind of, like, jump away and dodge all of the shots that the SAX fires at you. And then if you get, like, to the next screen, she just will stop following you. Like, you go through a door, and then it doesn't know how to open it or something, and just gives up. And it's like, well, get him next time.
This omnipotent murder machine. It's
Yeah.
like, door? Screw this.
It doesn't use doors. It blows holes through the ship. As when you first meet it, you, like, go down the elevator, and then the wall blows up, and it walks through. So I don't think they know how to work doors.
Yep, they need you to unlock all the doors.
Yeah. Do we know if Samus knows how to unlock doors? It has all of Samus's memories.
The Sax never unlocks a door that I've seen.
True.
But yeah, it's
Interesting thought.
definitely a scary enemy, and they do a good job of showing you a close up of the Sax's face and its cold, lifeless eyes, and that sells
shot.
it.
Yeah,
it is. And as we go through the game, Samus is also, she mentions a character named Adam Malkovich, her previous, I guess, Galactic Federation liaison commander dude. And it's implied that he dies in either Super Metroid or something in between Super Metroid and Fusion. Em, do you have any insight into where that character comes in, how he shows up? Because Samus names the computer Adam after this character.
Yeah.
But I am not familiar with them. But it seems like there's either a relationship, a romantic relationship, or, commanding officer, soldier relationship between Samus and this commander. And it was unclear kind of where the lines were and what their relationship was.
Yeah, I was wondering about this. I looked into it a little bit because Super Metroid does not have any story beyond, like, you land on a planet and then have to find your way off of it. This was a addition that they put into Metroid Fusion pretty much unprompted. And then in the Wii game, Metroid Other M.
Oh no!
Yeah, which if you are a fan of Metroid, you probably don't want us to talk about this game because it was universally panned. But that is where they go into the backstory of Samus and Adam. It goes about how you would expect. Adam dies, and Samus goes off to do her own thing, because she's a space bounty hunter and can do whatever. This actually, I said it was panned, but actually it's got like anywhere from an 8.5 to a 6.5. So it's not terrible. I don't know. I never played Other M, so I could not say. But yeah, none of this was in any of the primes, and I don't think Zero Mission added much to the story.
So, like, in terms of giving your character, like, a dark and, haunted backstory that you're going to base most of the emotional plot points of your game on, maybe not the best choice, I think fair to say?
I mean, it is kind of an inversion of what usually happens, where the manly man bounty hunter has a woman who dies, and that sets up the whole thing.
Yeah,
so
it's the version of the Bionic Commando, my wife is my arm.
Exactly.
Which we all recognize as one of the greatest video game stories ever told.
Yes. Oh no, my wife has been killed and turned into my arm. Now I need to stop you, evil bad guys.
To be fair, we do come back to that way often than most other games.
Yeah,
so I guess it's
kind
stuck with us.
At the end of the game, we get the robots, your robot commander, your computer program commander, I guess accesses Adam Malkovich.exe and installs his personality and starts acting like this character that they've mentioned once or twice. And apparently it turns out that the Galactic Federation is like downloading their commanders' brains into computers. Just, you need a backup.
Yeah, it just seemed like an unnecessary addition to me to the story. Like, everything was pretty tidy already. Like there's this parasite, Samus is trying to kill it, but no, the Galactic Federation wants it saved. Like, that's a story I understand. And they're like, oh, and they're also uploading Adam's consciousness, this guy you've probably never heard of, into this computer too. I'm like, okay, we didn't really need it.
It does feel like a very neat coincidence. Like, this random space station has a guy from your past as the computer.
Yeah, and this random space station has the little fuzzy animals from Metroid, from Super Metroid there too, and they save the day.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because, like, it's a galactic federation. They're spread across the entire galaxy. Like, this is just one of probably billions of space stations they have.
Yeah, but they just keep sending Samus to the same planet over and over and over again.
It's where the plot is happening, don't you know?
It's true. And we see, other callbacks. We have Ridley, who is, I guess they just have frozen Ridley in the cargo hold. And then he thaws out, and he doesn't thaw out. An X-Parasite infects Ridley, and then there's X-Ridley.
We don't have to go too far into Ridley. I mean, I know he's in basically like every game, but as someone who doesn't really play much Metroid, is Ridley like smart? Like, does Ridley have intelligence, or is he just like a big space dragon?
I'm actually not sure.
I believe he's a space pirate. Like, he's the leader of a space pirate gang.
Mm-hmm. He's like, Ridley, also known by his aliases Geoform 187 and the Cunning God of Death.
Okay, hell yeah. So, Cunning God of Death implies
unfamiliar with that.
Arts.
A draconic extraterrestrial hailing from the planet Zebes, he became Samus Aran's arch enemy after leading a space pirate raid on her homeworld that killed her parents.
Oh shit!
Okay. I don't know where we learn any of that.
The manga.
Probably.
Supplementary literature.
Yep.
Maybe that's in Metroid Prime. I don't know.
Who knows? I do like whenever Ridley appears, he is more fucked up than the last time. And I believe the most recent version of him is just like a robot, and like the one thing they have saved is like a claw So at some point, you just gotta stop reviving him. I don't know.
Knock it off, guys.
I'm just saying.
Yeah, it's he didn't necessarily need to come back. The fight with him is kind of a bummer. I don't know, but
It takes forever.
it does.
It's so fucking long.
So speaking of kind of a bummer, what did you think of the very end of the game? Because I found that this game has pretty generous saving. It has pretty good handheld concessions compared to, other games of this era. Like it had generous save points. The serving size is pretty small. You can beat the whole game in like 3 hours pretty easily. But the very end of the game basically has a 4 boss rush to win. And that just felt a little bit like it felt like a difficulty spike. Because you have to fight the sacks. After the sacks, there's a form that's really crappy. Like you shoot it 3 times and it dies. Then you have to fight the internal X core. It can shoot beams at you. Again, not very dangerous, but after, like, the sacks is hard. And then at the very end, you fight the Omega Metroid, which I thought they were little blobby things. I didn't realize they could become big raptor monsters.
Me neither. They really dropped the ball, I think, after the sacks. Like, the sacks was your big bad. Like, just fight that and, blow up the space station and be done with it. Like, I get that it's a Metroid game, so you kind of have to fight a Metroid.
You have to kill one Metroid.
Yeah, right. But I get a little tagged. Like, I think it's a more interesting story to say, like, oh, this thing that was your enemy your whole life has now saved you and become part of you. How do you deal with that? As opposed to just like, oh, we made the vaccine. Now kill this big scary one.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even look like a Metroid, as you said, Gino. So I don't know why we needed to make their Metroid lore strange. It feels very much like the Queen Alien. Like, I don't know when this came out compared to Aliens, but it felt like they wanted that big, like, final climactic battle. But you could have had that with the SAX, and they made it into, like, this weird blob monster that kind of looks like a frog. It doesn't really do much. It just seems like it could have been that final battle. It merges with you, and then you gotta race to blow up the station or something.
Yeah, there were a lot of ways you could have done it. It was odd to me that they decided to have one extra fight, and for me, the one extra fight was a bummer because I never had actually pressed the L, like the left bumper, so I didn't realize that there was a way to lock in on diagonal shots. I was always shooting diagonally by holding up and to the right, which you run forward when you do that. You can't be stationary. So that fight, I died like 3 or 4 times after having beaten the sacks against the stupid Omega because I was trying to shoot the way I had played literally every other fight in the game.
I'm surprised you got that far without pushing the left shoulder once.
Beat the game, basically.
There's probably a speedrun percentage for that.
Yeah, speedrun percentage for not hitting the left bumper.
No left bumper. Any percent.
Honestly, beating the Omega Metroid without hitting the left bumper is probably very difficult or impossible.
You could probably, like, jump. Can you jump
Maybe.
And hit it? I don't know.
You have to be up under it. You need to be up, shoot it in its stomach, basically. So I don't think you could, but hey, take that run. Take that run for me.
Give it a try. I'll add that to the list. We're going to do that on stream. The no bumper run.
No bumper run, glitchless, no bumper run. So how did everyone end up at the end? Because this is a Metroid game, you get different ending credits depending on how badass and fast you were at beating the game, where it shows Samus in varying levels of undress. How did everyone do? How naked was your Samus?
I meandered a lot. Samus actually like put on an extra overcoat for my ending.
In the suit with the overcoat.
Yeah, even more dressed than before.
I was not playing super fast, so I ended up with like the middle. I didn't collect all of this stuff, so I don't know if the percentage has anything to do with the result. So
yeah, so for this game, if you take over 4 hours, Samus will just be in her suit. No change. If you get from 3 hours to 4 hours, I think 2 hours to 4 hours or 3 hours to 4 hours, it'll be Samus with no helmet.
Mm-hmm.
If you get under 3 hours, it's Samus in her like sports bra and shorts. And then if you get 100% item completion, it's same Samus but different pose. Like there are 3 different poses of Samus in sports bra and shorts.
Huh. And then if you get
These are,
100% really fast, she's completely naked, and they banned it.
These are pretty like aggressive poses. I think they're
Can
very
you
sensuous.
just see those? Let's see.
I just googled
Samus.
Metroid Fusion ending. It's sort of hard to decide what's official art and what is just, fan art. But
If you get 100% completion, Samus says, "Will you marry me?" And then legally, in certain countries, she's your wife.
That's the best ending.
Best ending. Best end. And then
Yeah.
if you play the game again and you lose, she divorces you, and that's bad end.
It's the only way to get that. I think these are all the official arts, actually. All of the ones in her Zero suit Samus. There's like the purple suit at the bottom there. I haven't seen that one.
That's the gravity suit, I think.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe this is fan art. Who knows? Play it
Yeah,
again. Go really fast.
My favorite boss in this game is definitely the boss that gives you the gravity suit.
The
It's the Nightmare.
Nightmare. Yeah, I was going to mention the Nightmare. You just shoot him in the face and then he melts.
Well, you shoot him in his undercarriage, and once that blows up, then you shoot him in his melty face.
I remember that fight from when I was a kid. That really freaked me out when his face melted. Probably didn't scar me or anything. It's fine.
And it's also one of the only bosses that is like multi-sequence. It's not just do the same thing but faster. Phase 1 and Phase 2 play deliberately differently. So yeah, any other closing thoughts on Metroid Fusion?
Well, I was watching my speedrun, the 50-minute speedrun that someone posted, and someone gave a donation that was like, "Hey Nintendo, when are we going to get Metroid Dread?" And they were like, "Haha, that's never going to happen." And then everyone in the comments was like, "Surprise, it happened." So,
Idiot.
Yeah, you fucking fool. It only took 14 years, but it's coming out.
It's a real
Yep.
game, you dumbass.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. I looked into this too. Metroid Dread apparently was supposed to be released like 15 years ago. And then finally they revived it, and now we're actually going to get it. We're going to get to fight a creepy robot. So I'm looking forward to that one, because it's a 2D Metroid again, which are the best Metroids. Don't at me.
Prime is better than it has any right to be, but yes, I
That's
agree.
true.
The 2D
Prime
is
series is very good, but we haven't played those yet on the show, so
true.
as
We
it's-
can't say they're quality.
yep, we'll have to see.
Yep. All right, Pete, any closing thoughts on Metroid Fusion?
honestly, this is the first Metroid game I ever played the whole thing of. It was
Really?
good. Yeah, it's a solid little jumpy, platformy, shooty sort of deal. I liked it.
I was glad. This is, like I said when you picked the game, this is one of the only games I have 2 copies of.
Yep.
On the GBA. I don't know how I got the second copy, probably illicitly, but regardless, I'm glad I got to revisit it and see that the game holds up well, and it's still a blast to play. Like, it's very well made for its age. Like,
Yeah, it holds up.
the jumps feel good, the save points are well placed. Like, there's not a lot of spots to really nitpick, which is fun.
Yeah.
I only got lost like once, which in a game like this is sometimes hard. But yeah, so now it is once again my turn to pick, and I've made a choice,
Oh
y'all.
no! Oh no!
Yeah, this isn't starting good, but I'm gonna keep my hopes up.
I've made a choice.
I know what this is gonna be, and I'm fearful.
You're fearful
I'm
because I'm gonna pick a great game.
Because you're gonna
I'm
pick a
fearful.
game I need to have already started in order to finish for our deadline.
This one might have to be a multi-parter. I think
Oh, no.
it's a long game, but it's a good one because it is the 13-year anniversary of this game coming out for the PlayStation 2. Shin Megami Tensei Persona 4,
Hmm.
the
Okay.
Golden.
All right, the
Okay.
one Persona I've played, I think.
No, we played 5 for the show.
Oh, I'm sorry, the one I've played independently of the show.
Yes, I lent this game to you
Yes.
in college.
I remember.
I actually
Yeah,
think I
so-
have a copy of this for the PS2, so I might do the original
You can. That's fine. I'm gonna play the Golden because I've got it on the Vita, and I'm going to be in a car a lot. So playing that is a nice one. And this game came out about 13 years ago this week, depending on when you're listening to this. It is widely regarded as one of the best JRPGs ever made. It's a good time. It's one of my favorite games. I want to revisit it. I want to see how it holds up because if I remember correctly, I think it's still better than 5. But we shall see.
Really?
When I played it the first time. Although I remember an extended stripper fight, which was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of that. I'm
Did you ever
looking
play this game out?
forward. Oh yeah, I played this on the Vita, played Golden, and then my Vita got bricked at one point, and I never finished it. I got to I believe it was the Valentine's Day segment, which is, I think, halfway through. So I did not finish it. Looking forward to that. I do remember all the homophobia, though.
Yep. We'll have to talk about that. We'll have to talk
will.
about how this game tries to give you multiple characters that seem to be queer, and then the game's like, nah.
Nah, not here.
No, this lady just likes wearing pants. So actually, that's all that we're saying here. That's all we meant to say.
Yeah, it'll be a fun one. I guess I better get started. We only have 2 weeks.
We are almost certainly not gonna finish this 80-hour game, and we'll take temperature after one, get a little far into the game, and then see whether we still want to go on for a second episode. But I want to revisit it, take a look, see how it is. I want to, fuse some personas. I want to make a Hercules or a Titan, or, I think Satan's in Persona 4.
Yeah, you can
make a Satan.
The best persona is the one that looks like a giant dick. So.
Oh, yes, Mara.
See, you remember.
Yes, you don't forget the Dick Chariot. All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Reminder, you can get in touch with the show at Deep Listens Pod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We have our comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. Write in if you have feedback. You can also support the show on patreon.com/deeplistens. Be sure to get in your feedback on whether you want to hear more listens to the magic or not, because the timeliness of that episode is decreasing rapidly. So, without further ado, thank you, Pete.
Yeah, like I said, first Metroid, and I stand for it. I like it.
Thank you, Em.
Thank you. Always good to revisit one of the formative games of my youth.
And thank you, listeners. Till next time. Peace.
Break it down